More than 100 years ago, inventors were searching for ways to move crowds of people quickly and effectively. Two Americans found the solution: to create a moving stairway. It worked like a conveyor belt to move people along. Otis Elevator Company purchased the patent, and the escalator, originally a trademark name, was built. The first step-type escalator was introduced at the Paris Exposition in 1900. Escalators were an immediate success. The escalator has been improved throughout the years, but the basic design is still very much the same. Tomorrow's escalators may look something like this, as engineers work to develop a helical design. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, the escalator is still a quick, effective way to move the masses.
This exercise station accommodates a variety of different exercises. These are precision tools for perfect balance, instantaneous biofeedback. This is fantastic stuff. But the most important piece of fitness equipment isn't something that you get on or put on. It's what you put into here, the desire to stay in shape.
I love you.
I love you too, Jenny.
Do you really?
Of course I do.
Ben,
Yeah?
I'm pregnant.
The overwhelming majority of teen mothers never marry the father, and single parenthood is a long road to walk by yourself. Learn to say no and mean it.
In 1858, Senator Stephen Douglas asked his friend General James Denver to help him name a new U.S. territory located up in the mountains. General Denver no doubt knew that Spanish explorers had called the entire mountainous country to the west Montaña del Norte, and he proposed the name Montana. Douglas's territory never came to be, but the name caught the attention of James Ashley, chairman of the House Committee on Territories. He proposed it for a new territory in the Northwest, but it was defeated by a more popular name, Idaho. In 1864, when the Idaho Territory was divided, Ashley succeeded in gaining approval for the name Montana. Said to mean mountainous country in both Spanish and Latin, the name suited the territory and eventually the state. Montana, land of mountains.
Some people think dipping improves their performance on the playing field or on the job. But here's what's really going down. People who dip get addicted. If they haven't dipped for a while, nicotine cravings start to make them uncomfortable, and they lose their ability to concentrate. When they dip again, the nicotine fix calms the withdrawal symptoms, and that makes them think they're more alert. But the fact is, dipping doesn't make you more alert. It makes you addicted.
Dunsameuse, France, World War I. A grenade explosion knocks 2 American soldiers from their post. Flames spread dangerously close to a nearby bunker occupied by a U.S. Army machine gun team. First Lieutenant Claude Austin fearlessly leaps out, dodging enemy artillery. He drags his injured comrades from the fire and then leads 5 others to safety. Just in time. Army First Lieutenant Claude W. Austin, a daring and courageous American hero.
Understand, cargo hook is hot.
Cargo hook is hot.
I'm going in the hole.
Roger.
And I have load in sight.
Okay, the load is coming under the nose.
420. Down 5. Hold it down. Bring it forward 3, 2, 1. And comes on hook. Bring it up 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slings are tight. Get clear to reposition our flight.
Clear flight, left traffic.
We're ready in the rear.
Teamwork clears it all.
A child's mind is like a sponge, soaking up everything it sees and hears. Hurtful words and actions can make a child withdraw and question self-worth. Constant criticism can trap a child in a world of hostility and doubt. But words of praise and gestures of love can free a child, boosting confidence and self-esteem, helping color a much brighter future.
You might not want to be involved in the war on drugs, but make no mistake, if you're a parent, you've been drafted.
350 organizations all over America have come together to create the Coalition for America's Children.
Now we need your help.
We hope you will contact the coalition soon. Thank you.
If a sudden financial emergency finds you up the creek without a paddle, contact your Service Relief and Aid Office. If you don't have one nearby, call one of the other relief and aid services. They'll put you in touch with the people who can get you moving again.
An impending PCS move can feel uncomfortable and intimidating if families don't have a sponsor to help them. Sponsors can help create a more favorable first impression. By providing newcomers with information about life in their new duty station, sponsors can make a PCS move a much more positive experience.
Just what is it that you want to do?
Without raising taxes, our deteriorating roadways.
Health care issues continue to be primary concern.
At a press conference today, the Secretary of Defense announced new
And
plans.
violent crimes continue to plague many cities.
Continued global warming and the depleting rainforests have moved, ending with both houses today demanding a balanced budget for the...
Your vote can impact the issues. It's your right, and only you can make it count.
I tell you, I've got to start living the simple life.
That's the simple life.
No, I've got too much to worry about. Man-eating beast inventing the wheel, cholesterol.
Cholesterol?
Yeah, you think I want to see somebody in my family have a heart attack? We're not Neanderthals.
Keep up with the times. Watch your family's blood cholesterol level. Eat a diet low in saturated fats and cholesterol.
After all, you know what happened to the dinosaurs.
That was cholesterol?
He was the first to receive a 5th star. When William Leahy retired from the Navy in 1939, he thought it was the end of a distinguished 40-year career, a career that included the dangerous task of transporting troops and supplies to France during World War I. After that war, Leahy headed both the Bureau of Ordnance and the Bureau of Navigation, then was Chief of Naval Operations until he retired. During World War II, he came out of retirement to serve as Chief of Staff to Presidents Roosevelt and Truman. Leahy's training in international and military affairs helped him inform both presidents about foreign policy, armed forces organization, and weaponry. In December 1944, William Leahy was honored for nearly a half-century of service with his 5th star and promotion to Fleet Admiral of the United States Navy.
This is Mary Surratt. She may have been involved in a plot to kidnap President Lincoln. In 1865, the widow Mary Surratt ran a boarding house in Washington, D.C., where she met the famous actor John Wilkes Booth and his friends in the Confederate underground. They planned to kidnap President Lincoln, but no one knows when kidnap became assassinate. After Booth shot Lincoln, he leaped off the balcony at Ford's Theater and fractured his leg. He rode to Surratt's Tavern in Clinton, Maryland, Mary's old homestead. There he retrieved the weapons and supplies Mary had arranged for him, then rode on to Dr. Samuel Mugg's house. Booth was later shot during his capture. Historians still debate whether she was involved in the assassination itself, but Mary Surratt was tried and convicted for conspiracy in the kidnap plot. She was the first woman in the United States to receive the death sentence and was hanged July 7, 1865.
Imagine what would happen if you or a loved one needed blood and there was none available. A unit of blood must be replaced about every 35 days. Help us make sure we never run out. Give blood at your medical treatment facility.
Maybe someone's trying to tell you something.
When I was a boy, I used to watch birds flying. Wonder what things look like from up there. Now I know. Most folks think it's too dangerous. But I'm going to keep doing it till I've seen everything there is to see.
In the early 1900s, the first mechanically propelled flights dazzled Americans everywhere. It was the beginning of a long romance with flight that started with the spirit of pioneering, the same spirit that inspired Daniel Boone to guide settlers into the Kentucky wilderness in the 1770s, and in a different light, the spirit that led famous choreographer Martha Graham to explore the physical movements that changed the face of modern dance from 1940 to 1960.
It takes desire and courage to step into the unknown. Maybe even a bit of foolhardiness. There's one thing that keeps us strong and always curious. That's the pioneering spirit.
The idea of vertical flight originated with Leonardo da Vinci long before World War II. But 500 years later, by 1939, da Vinci's idea for a helicopter became a reality. And by 1943, the Sikorsky R-4B Hoverfly was first delivered to American military forces. The military helicopter, a significant World War II first.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, the Marine's hymn dates back to 1848, when an unknown Marine set the names of famous Marine battles to music. The verses have changed over the years, reflecting campaigns of the time. Today, the 3 official verses of the Marine's hymn have become an enduring part of our military heritage.
Some TV stations are limited in the different types of programs they can offer. But AFRTS offers a variety of the best in stateside programming, up-to-date news and information, great sports events, and the most popular entertainment America has to offer. No other source puts more of America's favorite programs at your fingertips. AFRTS, something for everyone.
Shaking a baby can result in serious injury or death.
You know, I bumped into an old friend of mine the other day who was just made chairman of the board of his company. Making a joke, I asked him if being chairman meant that he got his own chair. And he said, yes, in a manner of speaking. So I looked it up. Do you know that the chairman of the board really is the guy who gets the chair? It all started in the old days when the men of the village met around a board that they used for a table. They sat on benches and stools. Back then, chairs were expensive, so there weren't many. The leader of the meeting got to sit in the chair. The room was called a board room, and the men were called the board of directors. And the guy who got the chair really was chairman of the board.
My father was always a better mechanic than a hitter. When he led his team to the championship, the whole town believed it was nothing short of a miracle. So when the game was won, then lost on account of blindness, well, it was as if the whole world stopped dead in its tracks. Some things take a long time to understand, like what my father did for that umpire after the game.
Maybe the last thing you would do for somebody should be the first. A message from the Credit Union Foundation and your hometown credit union.
The Marine officer's ceremonial sword, worn with pride and symbolic of the bravery of Lieutenant Presley O'Bannon. November 29, 1804, he and a squad of 6 enlisted Marines and 1 midshipman put ashore at Alexandria, Egypt. They are to join forces with the deposed ruler of Tripoli and recapture his throne from the pirates of the Barbary Coast. On April 27, 1805, O'Bannon's squad and a multinational army of some 500 men engaged the enemy in the port city of Derna. At a 10-to-1 disadvantage, O'Bannon leads his troops into the enemy battery, routing its defenders and turning its guns on the enemy. Today, officers of the Marine Corps carry a replica of the Mameluke used for centuries by the Muslims of North Africa and Arabia. This sword commemorates Lieutenant Presley Neville O'Bannon for his valor on the shores of Tripoli.
We're going down 300 feet today, checking an underwater cable. Thanks to a rebreathing apparatus researched and developed by the Navy, we're able to stay deeper, longer, with less time in decompression.
There's low cloud coverage and mountainous terrain at our destination. Thanks to the microwave landing system designed by the military, I'll be able to deliver my passengers safely.
Thanks to night vision technology developed by the military, I'm one step ahead of the bad guys. When military technology aids civilians, everyone benefits.
On September 19, 1777, British troops under the command of General Burgoyne attacked General Horatio Gates' American forces concentrated behind massive fortifications at Bemis Heights near Saratoga, New York. Cut off by Benedict Arnold, Burgoyne withdrew, but attacked again on October 17, 1777. Outnumbered and suffering heavy losses with no hope of reinforcements, Burgoyne retreated to Saratoga Heights, where he surrendered his army of more than 5,000 men to General Gates, thus setting the stage for France to recognize American independence and enter the war on the side of the colonies.
In 1892, an engineer named George Ferris built an attraction for the Chicago World's Fair that would rival the Eiffel Tower. It was a giant wheel, 250 feet in diameter. The 45-foot axle was the largest single piece of steel that had yet been forged. It had 36 wood-veneered cars, each capable of holding 60 people. Altogether, it carried more than 2,000 passengers. At the time, most people had never been higher than a 3-story building, about 30 feet. Passengers were amazed when at 264 feet, their view included the entire fair and nearby Chicago. Needless to say, the wheel was a resounding success. After the fair, it was used again for an exposition in 1904. Then it was demolished. Today, much smaller replicas can be found at almost any fair in the U.S., but none match the grandeur and the thrill of the very first Ferris wheel.
This state was the first to declare independence from England, a full 2 months before the Declaration of Independence was written. Before the Revolutionary War, the East Coast's busiest port was in this state. Located here is one of the finest oceanographic research facilities in the country, and the Naval War College, the Navy's highest educational institution. The first Quonset hut was built here, and it is one of the major manufacturing centers for jewelry and silverware. It's the smallest state in the Union, but it has a coastline of 400 miles, even though it's only 37 miles wide. This is due to the shape of Narragansett Bay, a mecca for beachgoers and boaters. It became our 13th state in 1790, and its capital is Providence. Which state is it? It's Rhode Island.
Although somewhat overshadowed by other American fighter aircraft during World War II, the P-38 Lightning proved a formidable aircraft in the European and Pacific theaters. Its unique configuration and distinctive profile incorporated many innovations. With its twin-boom design, 2 turbo superchargers, and tricycle landing gear, the P-38 was between 2 and 3 times larger than contemporary fighters. This made it possible to carry a massive concentration of firepower while still boasting a longer range, higher ceiling, and better versatility over most other fighters. Lightnings were in the air war over North Africa, Europe, and the Pacific. They were tested in functions ranging from interceptors and escorts to glider tow vehicles and air ambulances. One of the most dramatic Lightning operations of the war took place when 16 P-38s flew from Guadalcanal 550 miles to intercept and shoot down the Japanese aircraft carrying Admiral Yamamoto.
The P-38 Lightning, an innovative and revolutionary World War II fighter.
Over there, over there.
In 1917, as America prepared to enter the First World War, George M. Cohan went down to his Army recruiting office to join up. To his disappointment, George, at the age of 38, was past the age limit to enlist. However, that didn't dampen his enthusiasm. After America declared war on Germany, George decided he could do something to aid the war effort. He composed a song. He took a simple bugle call and turned it into
Send the word over there.
The song's popularity quickly swept through the nation and became the sound of patriotism during the Great War. And in 1936, President Franklin D. Roosevelt presented George M. Cohan with a gold medal for his contributions.
That's the Yanks are coming.
The song Over There touched the heart of America during World War I.
Over there.
He graduated from one of the best medical schools, walked into a built-in practice, and he doesn't pay malpractice insurance.
Take a deep breath.
But that's not all he's got going for him. He's an Air Force flight surgeon. And to understand the stresses of high-speed flight, he has to experience them firsthand. So if you want to practice medicine in a more stimulating atmosphere, call 1-800-423-USAF. Aim high, Air Force.
Don't be a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Air Force Captain John A. Dramisi was shot down during a strike mission over North Vietnam on April 2, 1967. Amid horrendous conditions as a prisoner of war, he clung to his patriotism. Risking severe consequences, he managed to piece together a small American flag made from a pair of red shorts, a blue prison sweater, and threads from a towel and blanket. He created what became known among POWs as the Freedom Flag. During the day, the flag was hidden in his mosquito netting. But late at night and in the early morning, the POWs unfurled the Freedom Flag and saluted it with pride. When the POWs were finally released, Dramisi proudly displayed their flag as they returned home. A crudely made flag that brought a sense of freedom to a prison cell. The Star-Spangled Banner, embodying the spirit of freedom and courage.
The Ford Mansion at Morristown, New Jersey, was George Washington's headquarters during the long, hard winter of 1779. Washington began the winter with more than 13,000 men, a force that was soon reduced to only 9,000 due to desertions and illness. There was little food, and his soldiers were forced to fight without shoes, uniforms, or steady pay. Washington was faced with a local population that refused to accept continental dollars for food. Yet despite the hardships, they endured and went on to attack the British on Staten Island. The home where Washington made his headquarters can still be seen and visited today in Morristown, New Jersey.